1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. Right, we're good.
Nope.
That happens every single time. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It is the Friday show. We are live and I am your host, Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we have the return back on his first podcast since the tour of America. We've got Chris Beesley. Chris, how are things? All good?
Yeah, just trying to get my head round, obviously, the time differences now, the jet lag, but I'm still hungry doing this now. My rumbling stomach doesn't take over.
You've had your butties, surely?
No, I'm still not at them yet. So,
Did you bring your luggage back with you, Chris?
Yeah, we were, as you know, we were parted the first couple of days, so yeah.
All accounted for?
Yeah. There's had a few bumps on the road, but yeah, it's terrific. Be out there, see all the Everton family, to be fair. There's a load of expats out there, load of Scousers out there visiting just for the games, American fans. It was terrific in that respect. They all together there. It was a really good showing. I mean, it was a bit tougher, obviously, on the pitch. David Moyes kept repeating that point about the new signings, how he expects to have more in the door by now. But I think certainly off the pitch, it was a really successful tour for Everton, and they really started promoting the club in the USA. And it was nice. A lot of people coming up to us, recognise us from the podcast, and great rapport with all the Evertonians out there.
Good stuff. And obviously, we've got to mention one thing: your book, Spirit of the Blues.
It's just by toe there, isn't it?
We can see it. You sent us a couple of copies in the office this week, and do you want to tell everyone the gist of it and where you can get a hold of one?
Yeah, go to Amazon. You can get your copies now. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot. Obviously, it's been 4 years in the offing, but it's a 133-year story. Anyway, it's all about the greatest games at Goodison Park and Everton's most memorable matches. You've got 100 Everton games in there, from the first at Goodison to the very last, Villeman and Dye, obviously, and all those that go in between, Bayern Munich, the lot, different ones, glory days, goals galore, different chapters on there. You've even got a few extras in there as well, obviously the World Cup games in '66, a couple of FA Cup finals that were played at Goodison, a record women's crowd. So there's plenty to go off there, and obviously we're getting a lot of good feedback over that. Just taking a lot now. So also hopefully a lot of people remember a lot of those games, and those ones that you don't, a bit before our time. It's all the people who were there to witness the action. So he's just looking at Bournemouth actually there. The Great Escape Part 3.
How many Great Escapes are in this game?
Yeah, there's the trilogy. So yeah, they're not all fingernail biting ones. But I mean, to be fair, on a positive note, I ended up having to write an extra couple of chapters in the last season because I'd done me 99. I was always going to obviously have the final game at Goodison in there as number 100. And there's a couple of big highlights that came back after David Moyes' return. You had Abdoulaye Doucouré scoring the fastest goal from an Everton player in the club's history, so that had to go in there, the 4-0 against Leicester. And then obviously James Tarkowski with the last kick and a Goodison derby, which meant after 130 years of derby combat, Everton didn't finish with a losing record against Liverpool at Goodison. So yeah, a couple of little rewrites at the end there, but it's been well received. I know a lot of people have been thumbing through already. Alan Myers says he's enjoying it, so Big Al says that's good enough for me. So yeah, so it's going down well. So yeah, so go on to Amazon, you can get your copies now. Thank you.
Well, James Clancy with the comments already. I'll be snapping up your book, Chris. Excellent work.
Thank you, James.
We've also got Tony Scott. Tony, how are things? All good?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to this weekend in particular. First full house at the Dickinson Stadium. Really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a bit of an emotional day for lots of Evertonians going into the stadium for the first time. Packed house, just to hear the noise. It's going to be incredible to hear Z cars to a full capacity at the Dickinson Stadium. Weather's going to be glorious as well. Really, really looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be a really good occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think I've ever been as excited for a friendly game in my life, to be honest. And I think, I'm missing the Brighton game, and I'm gutted about that. But I think with this friendly game, the results, obviously you want to win, but it's meaningless. So for me, it's kind of just a day, the experience of it, going in. I've been in there before, but going in there in full capacity, getting to the ground early on, it's going to be a bit of a special day, I think.
And there's going to be lots, that's the best part of what, 25, 30,000 Evertonians going there for the first time. So it'll be their first experience as well. We had the first test event, which was 10,000. Then we had the second test event, which is 25,000. Now it's going to be over 50,000 Everton fans inside that stadium on Saturday. It's going to be hell of a noise, hell of an atmosphere. And emotional as well. It's going to be a really, really special day for everyone involved in Everton Football Club.
Absolutely. And to just mention, we've got some exciting news ourselves. So, well, we think it's exciting.
Very
I don't know
exciting.
what everyone else is going to think. Just to let everyone know who's listening, who's watching live, me and Tony will be doing an immediate post-match podcast following the Roma game. So an immediate post-match reaction, something which we're aiming to do for every home game for the season. So we're going to schedule it for 5:30 on the YouTube channel. And then obviously you can listen to it post-match audio-wise on any Royal Blue audio platforms. I mean, it's worth mentioning that I've said that we're going to try and aim for it every single home game, but I am missing the Brighton game. So we've already let people down.
As soon as the match finishes on Saturday, we'll be legging it down, or getting our steps in along Regent Road, straight along to obviously where we find ourselves now to record straight after. So get your questions in, your comments. I'm sure we'll read through them all straight after the Roma game.
I just pray that we win, because I don't know what you're going to be like if we get beat. A Tony Scott rant.
No, I'm saving the rants, regardless about.
Listen, regardless of
and listen, it's if we get beat, it's here or there, isn't appreciated. I want to see patterns of play from Everton. I'm sure we'll talk about it now. Maybe one or two of the new signings. But I just think I think everyone will realise the dream on Saturday in terms of I never thought this was happening. I think we're all going to sit there and go, we're actually here. Yeah. We're here. We've came full scale in terms of the Goodison farewell in May, and now we're hang on, there's 50. This is what we've always dreamt of. Our world-class state-of-the-art stadium on the River Mersey. It's heaven to us, and it's going to be really emotional for lots of Evertonians.
No, absolutely. I can't wait for it, to be honest. It's going to be a really special day. And what was the stat that you said with regards to attendance?
It will be, on Saturday, will be Everton's highest home attendance for a game since 1987. When it was 53,500 for that game. Julie Everton got beat 1-0 in a Merseyside Derby League Cup quarter-final, but that was the last time Everton held attendance for that high at home. So it's just another historic stat to add to the record on Saturday.
Okay, today's agenda, lots to get through. Obviously, history will be made. So Everton are going to host the third and final test event at Dickinson Stadium against Roma. So plenty to discuss over that. And then we've got the transfer latest, given our transfer views and opinion. Obviously, Dewsbury Hall is in, but still plenty of speculation over Tyler Dibling, Jack Grealish and John McGinn. So we are going to get into that. As always, give us a thumbs up, drop us a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Support is greatly appreciated, and we are live, so get your comments and get your questions in. Before we do actually finally get into the main section of the podcast, I know we've been speaking for 10 minutes already, and we haven't actually got into the main section, but the show has got a brand new sponsor. So the sponsor, as you can see if you're watching live on YouTube with the graphic on show, is NordVPN. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, couple of months, we're going to be bringing you a lot more information about how you, our audience, can benefit from signing up with NordVPN, including special discounts through our designated links, which can be found in the YouTube and podcast description. I mean, this sort of stuff, NordVPN, the app, it will be especially useful for anyone who's going on holiday, who's travelling abroad over the next couple of weeks, as you'll be able to watch sporting events, TV shows, films that you won't be able to maybe access in the region that you're going to be in. So, i.e., if you're abroad, you can access all the streaming services that you usually use back home. So, to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/EFC. The link will also give you 4 months extra on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description below. So try it out, give us a click, and like I say, over the next couple of weeks and months, we're going to provide you a lot more information on how Nord can benefit if you do sign up to it. The question is, Chris, are you on board with Nord? Are you on board with Nord?
If you qualify for Europe, we will be. We want to use it.
There we go. There we go.
There you go, yeah.
Seamless transition.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is worth mentioning as well, just Chris's book. I think I did forget that you can, the link to the Amazon link is in the YouTube description and the podcast description as well. Okay, well, we might as well get into it after all of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us. Roma friendly, Chris.
Yeah.
We've talked about how it's going to be an historic day. Tony's mentioned about the attendance, a record breaking attendance since 1987.
Yeah.
Obviously, the result, I guess, is not the be all and end all, but it would be nice to finish pre-season off with a win, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the only win they've had is the behind closed doors against Port Vale, also, obviously.
Got form at home.
Dickinson Stadium, yeah. Well, to be fair to Moyes, he's good by the rivers, isn't he? Because he won by the Trent at Forest, won by the Thames at Fulham. So, he's got that in his locker. So let's hope that's a positive note. But yeah, like we were saying about the crowd, this is one of the things. Obviously, I was fortunate enough, I think, while I was over there in the States, Dan Meese in his office there on 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, rather plush there. He had some lovely models of the stadium and all the planning process that he'd been through. And I was saying to Dan, I said, because he's been very passionate in his defence over the capacity, because obviously a lot of Blues should have gone bigger, to see Liverpool over 60,000 now. West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal, City going up to over 60,000 as well. United been over 70,000 for a long time. So it's been quite a fierce debate about how big the stadium should be. And he has always done an impassioned defence that you've got to get its size right. And we've got an article about that today in which he mentions that. But what it will do with the capacity now, it's ended up as being, 52,769. It will mean that if Everton can fill that for every home game, they will actually be playing in front of the biggest regular crowds in the club's history. I know, I mentioned in my book, Goodison, I think it ended up having 16 attendances over 70,000 for Everton games. But in terms of an average attendance, Everton have only ever averaged over 50,000 across a season once in their history for the 62-63 title winning season. So if Everton can fill Hill Dickinson Stadium every home game, they will actually be playing in front of the biggest crowds, in the regular crowds in the club's history. So if you think about the revenue that drives, I mean, we look at Goodison Park, there was only 1,300 corporate seats out of that 39,000 capacity in the end. 5,500 at the new stadium, whatever we're calling them, but in terms of those experiences and those money driving seats that the club have got, and then all the facilities with it, all the other events you're going to have at the stadium, it's going to have that combination of what Dan Meese wants. He's big on. He thinks it's going to give them the home field advantage. Maybe that might take a bit of time to get new surroundings, but the fact it is close to the pitch, unlike so many of these new stadiums. Everton going to hopefully have the best of both worlds. A third extra Evertonians in there. It's going to be tight, intimate. It's going to be Goodison in a modern setting, but bigger and better. But also with the financial side of things. So it is a brand new dawn for all the trials and tribulations that Evertonians have been through. The most traumatic period in the club's history in many ways. Everton have got to be. Evertonians are always going to be proud of that heritage, of that glorious past that they've got, but they can look forward now for the first time in a long time, actually think there's something better on the horizon. It's really exciting times.
It is a new dawn, isn't it? Because if you think about it, we were having discussions only about 18 months ago in terms of like, shall we take the Holy Trinity statues with us, or what should we have a statue? They go, oh, no. I said, leave it. This is a brand new era. This is for the future. This is for the young Evertonians now. This is for them to make history. This is for a player to come from the academy, maybe Harrison Armstrong, for just shouting out loud. Maybe him to go and win an FA Cup for Everton the next 10 years, and then he can go and get the statue. This is for the next generation of Everton fans now, that this is our home, go and make history. And with kisses there, I'm looking forward to Saturday, obviously for a couple of reasons, to see all the Evertonians. But when I found the biggest learning curve for me when I went to the two test events, and this was just with 10,000, 25,000, it was the noise, like the speaker systems and the noise. Now, I can only compare it to, obviously, I've been to a lot of away grounds in the Premier League. Tottenham Hotspur is probably the loudest in terms of like the capacity of the noise level. You go, every time Tottenham attacked, it was going, felt as if like the roof was going to cave in. Now, I felt that a little bit when that was for the test event, when there was just best parts of 10,000, 25,000. So you can only imagine what that place is going to be like when there's 50-odd thousand there. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a big home advantage for Everton, especially with the passionate supporters that they've got.
Taking it back a week or two to when me and you were on the pod together, and you were a little bit critical over, you know, the maybe the strategy that Everton had adopted in the summer transfer window. Obviously now, you know, we're on the back of probably what you would describe as a poor run of results within the pre-season tour. However, we did finish off obviously on a positive. I know we drew with Man United, but let's face it, I do think we were the better team, and we were only really unlucky not to win that game through a poor refereeing decision when they gave United the penalty. So where are you up to with things now, especially considering things have taken more of a positive turn in the transfer market? I know since then we've got two over the line. One with the left back.
Left back, we was over there, wasn't he? He played in the last game. He played against United.
Trying to think when the last time you were on. All right, well,
so he's made one signing since we've come back.
No, I'm just thinking since the last time you were on the pod.
Yeah.
So I know he's obviously not going to be thrust into the first team equation straight away, but you would expect Dewsbury Hall to come in. So are you a little bit more positive in that sense with someone who's Premier League experience clearly is? You would expect to be, he's not one for the future. No. He's going to be in that team straight away.
I think it's about getting that right blend, isn't it? We all want these young players, progressive players who we can get maybe 3 or 4 years out of and then sell them for a big profit, or they become successful at Everton. So what Liverpool do very, very good. City, Arsenal, Chelsea, they all obviously bring a lot of young players through and then blossom. And they sell them on for big amounts of money. That's what's good for your PSR. That's why I think there's, over the last, I think under the Farhad Moshiri era, there's 15 players that Everton signed for over 20 million that left on free transfers. So that's just, it says a lot. It's not sustainable, hence why we've had points deductions and PSR issues. So the role model for Everton now is to bring young players in as well to make a profit and obviously sustainability, but also you need players for here and now. So if you can look at Everton's signings they've made so far this season, mainly a lot of them are under 25. I think Dewsbury Hall's the first one that's over 25. So I think it's about getting that right balance in terms of young players, bringing them on like Satiro Barry, Adam Asnam, etc. But also for here and now, Kieran Dewsbury Hall fits straight into Everton's midfield. Really does. He's a ball player, he's box to box, he's creative. Noticed Everton have given him a 5-year deal as well, which speaks volumes in terms of if he does have a good 18 months, 2 years with him, well, there could be another big club looking at him as well. You've seen him.
He's selling him already.
No, but that's the way football clubs will look now, and that's what you've got to look at. Because if players aren't doing well at a football club and we're buying them for 25 million, there's a big problem. That's why the recruitment team have been looking at the likes of Kieran Dewsbury going, right, let's get him on a big deal, 5-year deal. Let's see where we are with him in 18 months' time. But I think it's a really good signing for Everton. I like him. He's a good ball player. And what I like about him is that for the centre midfielder, I'm not going to make comparisons here, by the way, but the last probably centre midfielder Everton had who actually got hold of the ball and wanted to make things happen in front of him. And if there was no options, he'd go forward with the ball and play progressive. That's probably Mikel Arteta.
He seems to have a little bit of pace running with the ball.
He's got something in the locker. He's creative, box to box, loves a tackle, left side. I think he ticks a lot of boxes, what you're looking for. Maresca rated him really, really highly. So when he left Leicester, obviously he paid like the best part of 30 million. So Maresca is very successful, obviously at Chelsea at the moment. Now for him to have took him along with him speaks volumes for how highly you rate him. He's only not getting his game in the Premier League for Chelsea because they've got 3 centre midfielders they bought for 100 million apiece. That's the only reason why he's not getting a game in there. And even if you're probably Jude Biol, even if he was probably to play 3 or 4 decent games for Chelsea, he was never going to be a long-term answer for them because they spent that much money on the likes of Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Roma Lavia, etc. So he was never ever kicking a ball for them. He did kick a ball in Europe for them every single game. He played in 40. He started 14 of the 15 Europa Conference competition games for them. So it speaks volumes there. He played 5 games in the FIFA World Cup as well. So he's, if anything, he probably doesn't need the pre-season. He's probably fitter than more than most in terms of any Everton player that we've currently got. So, yeah, I think it's a cracking sign. It really is. 25 million, 5-year contract. He'll fit straight in. Proper footballer kid in Jude Biol.
Chris, I mean, he's come from Chelsea. Obviously, prior to that, when he was at Leicester, he was in the Championship, and that's where he kind of had probably what you would say maybe his breakthrough season. But he was phenomenal in the Championship from a midfield point of view. What are your thoughts on it? Because I kind of tweeted out saying that I do think he's got the potential to be Everton's most influential summer signing. I agree with everything that Tony's just said. Is it going too far to say he could, even transform Everton's midfield, just that one single player?
No, I don't think it is because, as Toes just said there, unlike some of the other signings who were one for the future, he's like the finished article now where he is. He should be at the peak of his powers. Again, unfortunate at Chelsea, obviously the manager backed him and he went there, but there's so many different options. This guy, he seems genuinely excited to be here at Everton, and when I've seen him, he's always had that something about him. He just stands out, like you said. He's got that swagger about him, but in a good way. I don't think he's necessarily cocky, but just the way he plays the game. And I've been talking to one of our colleagues down at Football.London, Bobby Vincent, who covers Chelsea. He's a really genuine guy, good with his time when he was speaking to people. He's actually interested in people as well, and he seems like somebody really good to have around the group. So obviously he's great as a footballer. Great. I mean, that's nothing with David Moyes, isn't it? He likes to sort of do his homework when it comes to the characters of the players and have like a good egg in there, somebody who's going to be good around the changing room. So I even like that he had the crouch pose, and then the picture of him in the new stadium after he'd signed at Hill Dickinson, just a bit of old school there about him. Yeah, I just like a good feel about this one. So I'm hopefully, like you said, it's that area because Idrissa Gueye's been so good, but we'll be like quality over quantity in terms of his minutes going forward, and with James Garner as well, give him the competition as well. So yeah, I think it's really smart signing this one, and it could be a very influential one.
Know where I think he'll play him? In a number 10. I think he'll play him in Decore's role because you'll probably notice more than anyone, Chris. I've only been to the 2 pre-season games, Accrington and Blackburn, and there was just Everton getting overrun in midfield, really overrun. And I've noticed that it's from the defence right up to obviously the attack, there's just a gaping hole. Now, what Decore was very, very good at, although obviously the ball with his feet, he wasn't as so good at, but he was great at getting up and down the pitch and filling in. He was very good at that. I've noticed a big hole in Everton's midfield in the pre-season games where they've been overrun. Now, it took David Moyes to say, do you know what, I'm going to have to put James Garner in at number 6 here and push just a guy up against Manchester United. And it actually worked. James Garner arguably had probably the best game I've ever seen him play for Everton, playing in that number 6 role, because you're having to keep the midfield compact. I've noticed they've been overrun in pre-season and midfield, so I wouldn't be surprised if Jude Biol is played in that 10 role and he can get box to box, so he can basically fill in to make your 5-man midfield, and he can get up and support whoever the striker is. So
just in pre-season that we've been overrun, is it?
No, but if you think like where Decore's been,
no, I know what you mean.
Decore, for all his faults with the ball and the use of it, he was very good off the ball. He really was. Or he covered every blade of grass. He'd fill in for his midfield defenders, etc. But he wasn't as good with the ball as feet. Whereas Kieran Jude Biol is. He's a very, very good footballer.
I don't disagree. I think the question is, has he been brought in to play as the number 10? We don't know that answer just yet. And what we've all been saying there, some of his strengths, Dewsbury Hall, is to bring the ball forward and progress. So you would, on that basis, you would expect him to play a little bit deeper as the 8, maybe not the 6, but getting the position to where he can progress the ball forward. Is he going to be able to do that in the number 10 with just Betto around him? I don't know, but I can see him playing as the number 10. I absolutely agree. What I will say is, in me weekly defence of Betto, because he has took a little bit of criticism. No, he has though, hasn't he? Let's face it. And whether it's valid or not, because even Moyes, the manager, criticised him. I honestly think that once we get a midfield who is capable, when I say a midfield, like a number of players who are capable of keeping hold of the ball and getting close to Betto, I honestly think you'll see even more improvements of Betto, because even if the ball does bounce off him when he's trying to hold the ball up, there'll be players around him which we just don't seem to have. Whether you agree, I don't know.
I think with Betto, it's pot luck if it sticks. It is. If you throw the ball at him, it's either bouncing back or the odd time.
That's fair enough, but it's hard when you haven't got a midfield around you, have you, as well, at the same time.
But he's had you seen in pre-season the amount of time the ball was played up to him, and it was just. And in the end, you see him, he was just had his head in his hands. Go, what? The midfield can't get up. If as a centre forward,
it's not good enough to. It's not good enough to. The midfield's not good enough to do that, though, is it?
Well, if the ball's getting pressed to him, it's like, keep hold of it. Let us get up the pitch. Let us get up the pitch. So if it's bouncing back, the midfield aren't going to be making them runs in behind if he's not able to hold the ball up. That's as a midfielder.
No.
I'm only playing over 35, so I'm not a. But if I'm playing in midfield,
you're not in the Legends game tomorrow.
No, sadly not. Sadly, I'll be in here. But if your centre forward's not holding the ball, you're not going to make them runs on beyond. It's simple, because you know quite well it's just going to come back, and then next minute you're out the midfield, and your manager's going, Where's the midfield? So that's the last thing. But I understand he's got to improve. I think now what you'll probably see is that Thierry Barry will probably be his main starter. He'll probably start for the first couple of games, maybe Leeds, and he may be on Saturday as well, Betto, and then Barry will come on. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a more experienced centre forward bought before the deadline day.
Interesting. I don't want to turn it into a Betto debate. That was just my little prediction. Especially if we can get another central midfielder in, who is along the lines of Kieran Dewsbury in the sense of experience. Because obviously we'll come on to it now, but supposedly we're after John McGinn as well. I mean, Chris will probably tell you otherwise in a minute, but I just think, you fill that midfield with players who are capable of running with the ball, holding up the ball, the usual layoffs and through balls to the forward line, whether it's Thierry Barry or whether it's Betto. I honestly think you'll see a much more assured forward line.
What you've got to do is sort your right-hand side out first.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying. Okay, let's move on. Chris, we'll talk about John McGinn. Yeah. You wrote an article yesterday. There was obviously a lot of speculation and reports with regards to John McGinn. Mm-hmm. So your article says, Everton insiders have been left bemused by claims that they had a bid for John McGinn rejected by Aston Villa. Sky Sports News reported on Thursday in what was billed as breaking news that Villa had rejected an £18 million offer from Everton for John McGinn, with the West Midlands outfit declaring that the player is not for sale. It was claimed that David Moyes views his fellow Scot as a priority target with his leadership qualities and versatility, but Villa want to keep their captain. However, the Echo understands that while Everton did retain an interest in McGinn earlier this summer, and there were inquiries made last month, no bid was submitted. So what's going on?
Yeah, someone's lying. Something doesn't add up, does it? Yeah, they were very perplexed. Obviously when it broke on Sky Sports, there were calls made to the club, and as I've said in my copy there, he was a player. Everybody, it's been documented before, hasn't it? That he was on Everton's radar. David Moyes rates him, likes him as a player and as a personality again. But having had a look last couple of weeks ago. They've gone for what they see as being the younger version of McGinn in the aforementioned Dewsbury Hall. They've made their move now. I mean, you could argue whether they need more midfield cover or not. But yeah, as far as the people I spoke to at Everton were concerned, the message is that there hasn't been a bid, and like I said, bemused by these supposed breaking stories that a bid's been rejected when. My information is that there wasn't an offer made, and just wonder whether this is some sort of, despite Villa saying we want to retain our captain, is this some sort of attempt to flush out Newcastle United, who are also potential suitor for McGinn? So yeah, it's a curious one.
I mean, interesting, is it? Chris has got a good point there. Is it Villa and Sky in cahoots here? Are Villa maybe willing to sell the captain, John McGinn, someone who's been extremely influential to them. They just obviously want to make as much money out of him as possible. We know Villa, like a couple of clubs, including ourselves, have had PSR problems, and they seem to be going through it themselves right now because they don't seem to be able to sign these big name signings for a team in Europe. For me, I was speaking to Chris before we came on, and if Everton, whether they did or they didn't, if Everton were going to make a bid for a player like John McGinn, who's so influential to Aston Villa, you would have thought they would have got some indication from McGinn's camp that he would be willing to come to Everton, because why would they put a bid in the first place?
I don't believe it at all. I'm with Chris. It doesn't make sense. I think maybe they were inquired about his availability earlier on the summer.
Which they admitted.
Exactly, but it doesn't make sense that after the Kieran Dewsbury sign, it just doesn't make sense. And I can't envisage Everton paying, 18 million for a 31-year-old? There's no sell-on value there at all. There's not. It doesn't make sense for me. Is
he a good player? Would he be someone that you think, just in terms of qualities that he brings, regardless of his age, you'd probably get like two more years of his, at his peak? Is that someone that you would go for?
No, I think you need to. If Everton are paying 18 million for a player, I'd want a little bit more than John McGinn. At a 31-year-old player. Don't get me wrong, he gets around and he's a very good leader and gets around the pitch, gets his foot in, good set piece taker, but I'd personally want a little bit more from a signing for £18 million. A 31-year-old.
He always plays well against us.
I know, stop him doing that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, just pay it then. We've got a game coming up soon against Villa.
Exactly.
3 p.m. Saturday kickoff.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Villa's attempts to just try and throw Everton's name in the mix. And we've seen like Douglas Luiz. You've seen a lot of names. Everton's name has just been used in the mix just because mainly our need for players at the moment. So I think there'd be a lot of agents just go, you know what? There's a club there. Just basically show Newcastle and I wouldn't be surprised if Villa are putting the feelers out there. Going, we've got a 31-year-old here with a couple of years left on his contract. Let's try and get him out. We know Newcastle are interested.
That's what I thought.
It's gone a bit stale here. Let's try and throw Everton's name in the mix. And obviously then Newcastle react because we know quite well Newcastle at the moment. They're having a nightmare of a transfer window. So there's a lot of pressure on obviously their board to make signings. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably been the latter in terms of like, let's just throw Everton's name in the mix.
2 comments here with regarding McGinn. So Daniel O'Connor says, I'd rather sign Ross Barkley than McGinn, play him deeper like he did for Luton. And a good age not to block Armstrong's pathway into the first team. Tim Dawson says the McGinn story smacks of an agent stirring the pot. McGinn is worth 18 million over 3 seasons. It's 6 million. Obviously with the amortisation. Don't know. Ross Barkley back at Everton? No?
A better no from me. He's to be fair, he's done well in recent years after, his initial time after Everton. He struggled, didn't he? Sort of reinvented himself a bit, but no, I wouldn't go back on that.
I guess, there's plenty of time still left of the transfer window. If another midfielder or a McGinn does come in, you're probably looking at the likes of Harrison Armstrong, even a Tim Irabuman, then going out on loan. At least one of them going out on loan. And a lot of people talking up Harrison Armstrong. Is it the right idea to send them out on loan? But that's what would happen surely if that was the case. Another midfielder was to come in.
Depends, doesn't it, in where Dewsbury's playing, where it's just a guy's playing, because we've seen David Moyes, which is very good about David Moyes as well. Which in regards to the previous manager, that the previous manager was just so structured in his way of playing, his formation, the personnel. Everyone knew where they were playing. Where David Moyes, albeit it was a pre-season friendly, went, well, James Garner isn't having the best of the times in the midfield. Stick him in front of the back four. He's going to get a lot of the ball. When just a guy up the pitch so we can start pressing. And all of a sudden, the midfield looks totally different. Well, hang on, I like the look at this. Everton are starting pressing and they're creating. Yeah, well, so that's where where as many quality players in that midfield you're going to need as possible, because Everton don't play with a 4-4-2. Technically, they'll have a number 10 dropping in quite a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go 4-2-3-1. They could play any formation under David Moyes, and that's the beauty of them.
I mean, we're a lot of talk and debate about James Garner and his best position, but he needs to quickly find his best position, doesn't he? Because there's talk about, do we play him further upfield? Do we play him right back? Could he fit in there? And if Everton weren't to sign a right back, but now he seems to have found a position. It was against United, wasn't it, where he played very well in that number 6 role, where he said that's where I played earlier on in his career. For some reason, over the course of those couple of years, he's been pushed up further forward. He's been thrust out wide to do a job because of his versatility. I just feel like he needs to find this position quickly, and if it's the number 6, then so be it.
Yeah, it's a big year for him. Like you, I think I spoke to James a couple of times while we were away, and although he's with the free kicks, he's backing himself. Came close again, didn't he, against United after scoring obviously the winner behind closed doors against Port Vale. But in terms of his general play, yeah, I think with his contract, doesn't he? So we'd probably be playing for a new deal. Everton would, regardless of what they think his long-term future is, they'll probably be looking at offering him a new deal in the coming months. So yeah, it's a big time for James Garner. Like you say, he's probably suffered because of that versatility. He was having to fill in a wing back again earlier in the USA tour. So it could be the way going forward. It was only one game, but in that deeper role, and it'd be interesting to see how it pans out. But it's a big year, I think, for James Garner.
A final year as well.
Yeah,
final year of his contract.
Well, he's gonna have to be offered a new contract. We've said this because you're not.
Can't continue to let players go for free.
Well, exactly.
Nah, it's not sustainable, is it?
Let's hope he does sign that contract, even if we ended up selling him, in another 18 months' time, 2 years' time. Just very quickly, so on that, where does that leave Idrissa Gueye then? I mean, I feel like we're in a position now where we're getting players in, and at the moment we're going, oh God, we've got a couple of options there. And I mean, the team selection talk is going to be fairly interesting over the next couple of weeks, because even with Dewsbury Hall in now, Alcaraz, Irabumum, Armstrong, Gay, Garner, all them stay, at least for Leeds. Like, it would be so interesting to see what that midfield looks like. But there's obviously Idrissa Gueye then push forward a little bit like he did.
It's a squad game, isn't it? We know. I think I spoke with Connor last time, and it's not a starting 11 no more. Liverpool won the league last season because they had 6 centre forwards on the pitch. And once, you know what I mean, they can literally take 3 off, bring 3 on. City, that's why they struggled. Once Haaland got injured and Rodri got injured, they didn't have the formality to bring it on. So it's a squad game. We know more than anyone what happened to us against Bournemouth, when they literally just took half a team off and brought half a team on, and Everton couldn't cope. And that's where we struggled last season in terms of just trying to hang on for 1-0 victories and conceding late goals. How many times did Everton get pegged back because they haven't got the squad to compete? And this is where it's a bit of a blessing now. The likes of, you could be starting games with the likes of Kid and Dewsbury Hall and maybe Harrison Armstrong or just a guy, and then you're bringing James Garner on. All of a sudden, you've got legs to bring on. Where that's the nature of the Premier League at the moment. It's not a team game. It's not a starting 11 versus a starting 11. It's recruitment team versus recruitment team. It's a squad against the squad. That's the way 2025-26 Premier League football is going to be. And the big clubs with the big squads are going to be competing near the top when they can make 3 or 4 changes. If it's not going well after 60 minutes, to go, right, taking 4 off here, taking 3 off, bringing 3 on. And all of a sudden, half a team's changed. So that's where Everton need numbers desperately. And Moyes has alluded to it several times. He needs bodies and he needs quality players in.
Really good point here Reece Jones has made in the comments, which we have flagged up previously, but Idrissa Gueye is obviously going to go to the African Cup of Nations at some point in December and potentially miss 6 to 7 games. So he says, obviously, Idrissa Gueye go to African Cup of Nations. He said that is going to mitigate the risk.
Yeah, and Illiman and Dye, of course, as well, because he's Senegal as well, and he saw us 2 of them.
Hopefully, Jack Grealish can fill in for at that point. Well, what a segue into talking about Jack Grealish there. Matt Jones did an article earlier in the week about this topic. He says Everton are in talks with Manchester City over a loan transfer for Jack Grealish. According to David Ornstein of The Athletic, the Blues have made an approach to City about taking the 29-year-old for the season. However, obviously we know things may be in motion with regards to that, but former Welsh footballer Robert Earnshaw was speaking, he was on Sky, and he basically said that Jack Grealish, his move to Everton, if it was to happen, would be a step down and maybe not a good move for Jack. This is what he had to say. For Everton, it would be an unbelievable move. For Jack Grealish, it would be a big step down. He's at Manchester City and Everton have been nowhere near that level. The key is his contract is huge. Everton can't pay that. That's why they want him on loan. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so was it Robert Earnshaw? I was wondering what he made of all that,
Yeah, because I was so intrigued.
Robert Earnshaw, and Jack Grealish.
Got to fill the time somehow.
I was so intrigued to hear what that former Welsh footballer played for. Who did he play for, Robert Earnshaw? West Bromwich Albion. I was so intrigued to get his opinions on Everton at the moment. Yeah.
Do you know what? I was sat there yesterday on my day off, just before I was about to go out, and it was like Sky Sports do this thing where they're about to go on an advert and they tease something so you stay, and it was like Jack Grealish going to Everton, but someone doesn't think it's going to be a good move. I was about to leave and I thought, right, I'm going to have to stay now to see who this
Guardiola or something like that.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be Robert Earnshaw.
I'd be more intrigued if it was Pep Guardiola's quotes on Everton, but I'm not really interested in his comments. I'm more intrigued to hear David Moyes and obviously
what Jack has to say.
Yeah.
Well, is he up for it?
He wants to stay in the Northwest. That's what we've heard.
I think he would be up for it. And despite David Moyes been very cards close to the chest about this on the record. It's not like when Liam Delap, the way David Moyes operates, he often won't talk about players from other clubs, but I guess with the Liam Delap, and he had the clause, and it was a bit different. So he was quite open about that one with Everton's pursuit, although obviously he ended up going to Chelsea. So on the record, I actually asked him, I can't remember, it's all a blur now in America, but it was after one of the games. I said to him, and he said, no, I'm not going to talk about other clubs' players. But my understanding of the situation is that, they are obviously it's been since the start of the summer, Everton are interested. David Moyes rates him. He said in the past that he thought when Jack Grealish came to City, he was the best player in the Premier League at that point, the final season at Villa. Obviously, it's not gone all to plan for him since then, that 100 million move. He's got won a load of trophies with City, but ended up, he's surplus to requirements now. So there are obviously concerns as to what's gone wrong for him at City, the fact that he wasn't in that squad for the FIFA World Club Cup, and just why maybe it's under the micromanagement of Pep, or just the way he plays, an individual, a maverick like Grealish is stifled somewhat. I don't know. So there are obviously concerns about that. But my understanding of the situation is that, Everton are interested, but it would probably be a case of, as we've seen with the structure of the deal, it'd be difficult in terms of funding it, and to even just wages for a loan deal. That it will be that Everton will try and get all their other ducks in a row, as it were, try and get all their other targets boxed off, because we said already, right wing is a glaring omission. You probably want two in there, possibly, if you can. But try and get their other deals done, and then sort of look at Grealish as the cherry on the top, as it were, at the end of the window. So it might be one where they have to wait, and they have to go deep with this one, wait to the end of the window and see just what Everton are able to do elsewhere. But I think if a deal can be done, there's an appetite for it. I think there probably is from the player. There is from David Moyes, even though he's obviously being very cautious, keeping his cards close to his chest on the record. I believe there is that interest there. But it would be a case of Everton getting their other stuff done, and then if they're in the position to get this done, looking at Jack Grealish as like the Brucey bonus at the end of it all. Yeah.
So, I mean, Chris's point there of what's gone wrong with Jack Grealish. Now, I'm not saying Chris is saying that, but I think that's what a lot of people are saying with regards to Jack Grealish at Everton. It could just be a case of nothing has gone wrong. I think Pep sometimes can get quite bored quite easily with certain things. And if you look at, I don't know his exact stats, but I can assure you that I know Jack Grealish had an influential part to play when Manchester City won the treble.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah.
So that was 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? I'm not saying this is all down to Jack Grealish, but the season after, City kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. I know he might have had a couple of injuries, and maybe has had 1 or 2 issues that maybe we're not aware of, but that's just complete speculation. I honestly think there's nothing wrong with Jack Grealish, and he just fell out of favour with Pep because City have got the finances, the manpower to bring in whoever they want, whenever they want. I mean, you look at what they spent in January as well. Yeah. With the Egyptian that they brought in, Mamouche,
yeah. Doku's plays there as well.
Exactly. And I don't even think he, sets the world on fire, Doku. I think he's all good with his tricks and a bit of pace, but I think his final ball, leaves a lot to be deceived. I honestly think there could be nothing wrong with Jack Grealish, and he just fell out of favour with Pep, and he's just looking for the right move, and potentially that could be Everton.
I think you can quite clearly see what one of the plus points of signing Jack Grealish is that although on the eye he looks great, ball carrier, gets you up the pitch, wins a lot of free kicks, in terms of numbers, goals and assists, there isn't that many. But obviously he's a very, very good footballer. We know that Manchester City pays £100 million for him, which says a lot. He was successful in that treble-winning season. Because again, it's probably very similar to the Jules Biol situation where City bought in the likes of Mamouche and Jeremy Doku, and he's probably just fell out there, and sometimes that's just the way it works out. Because you leave Manchester City doesn't make you a bad player. Look what happened to obviously the likes of Cole Palmer, etc. So I'd be all over this if we can do it it's going to be about finances, as Chris touched on. Who's willing to pay Jack Grealish £300,000 a week? That's off Everton's scale, that completely. It really,
I don't think
really
anyone is other than Manchester City.
Of course, so there's going to be a compromisation in terms of the clubs. Who are favours towards the end of the window? Does a favour Jack Grealish now? Does he sit on his hands and wait? Does he want to get a move before the season starts? So you've got to take into context all these situations. But even with us, obviously we've signed now Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, potentially signing Jack Grealish and Tyler Dibling. We're like the Dave Thomas socks, aren't we? The rolled the shin pads down by the socks. But you can see
Tom
why
Davis back.
Exactly, yeah. But you can see why Everton are linked with these types of players, because the ball carriers and they get you up the pitch. And what they do as well, very, very clever, especially in this day and age, is that they win you a lot of free kicks. And we know how critical set pieces are in the Premier League. Liverpool, City, Arsenal, over the previous couple of years, have been very successful at accumulating points just from set pieces alone. And you've seen the height that Everton possess in that penalty area now. The likes of Jake O'Brien, James Tarkowski, Jared Brandtwaite, got Thierry Barry in there. So if Everton are winning a lot of free kicks on the edge of the area, the ball's going in that box, you'd fancy Everton to score a few goals next season. So you can probably see why the likes of Everton are linked with these ball-carrying players that are very good on the eye, dribble past 2 or 3 players and get you up the pitch. So it's going to be an exciting time. I'd love to see him sign for Everton, but if you're to put a gun to my head, I'd probably want McAtee out the two, to be honest. If you were to ask me which one I'd want.
It's gone a bit quiet on him, hasn't it?
It has. It's gone quiet because it probably... It's maybe Forest were in them. Didn't Forest get a bid turned down a couple of weeks ago?
£25 million.
So they're probably thinking, well, hang on, let's sit on our hands. A club may get desperate towards the end of the window and may pay 30 for him or 40, whatever it may be. Again, he's only got 1 year left on his current Manchester City contract. So it's going to be a lot of permutations in terms of what happens with the likes of McAtee, Tyler Dibling, Jack Grealish. Everton have to get one of them. They have to get one of them in, because if they don't, they're going to be really light on that side of midfield.
Just some comments here from people talking about Jack Grealish. Roy Nixon, nothing has gone wrong with Grealish. He is still a top-class player. The Blues, a regular commenter on the pod. Pep has realised he needs numbers from his wide men rather than asking Grealish to pass sideways all the time. I mean, you said that his numbers aren't maybe up there with the likes of, I don't know, Salah, I guess, if you want to use that as an example.
Numbers are better.
David Sullivan, I think Grealish will go to Spurs now that Maddison is out for the season. Seen a lot of people saying that.
And they've just sold Son as well, haven't he?
Yeah, I'd say it more for Son, because he usually plays. I know he can play up front, but he usually plays on the wing. Maddison's not really a winger, is he?
And Spurs would be in the Champions League. They'll probably pay the wages. Whereas in Everton, Everton will probably bulked at them wages and go, right, we can try and get a deal, but you're going to have to meet us halfway in the middle. Yeah. And City have gone, well, he's on £300 a week. If you want him, you pay him.
I know this sounds stupid, but obviously, say if you'd end up paying, say, 150,000, I think it worked out to like 12
City
million.
won't take that.
But you just have, if you're going to get him on loan, you just have to look at it as a transfer for one season, and you're paying, a huge amount of money. I know that's like ridiculous to say, because it's just like.
And what happens if this is the killer for Everton? He is a big success next season at Everton, and we've paid the big wages for him, and he just goes back to Manchester City and signs for Newcastle.
I think that's fine, though. I think that's fine, because if he gets us to where we need to go on our, progression on the ladder, I'd happily accept that.
And then goes and signs for like Newcastle or Tottenham. That's the killer, isn't it?
It's a killer.
Yeah.
It'd be disappointing, but we don't know. We're obviously speculating here. We don't know what.
Yeah, of course,
that's the thing. But I'd accept that.
Because he's also the sort of player, the arm round the shoulder, and he wants to be loved, doesn't he? And you can imagine if he was a success at Everton, he'd have that, wouldn't he? He'd become like a fan favourite, and so it'd make it, like you said, if he did then walk 12 months later, he's used Everton to get in the England squad for the World Cup or whatever, and had a good season, it would be a bit of a sickening, wouldn't it, to see him go to a Premier League rival or something.
It's the ambition of Everton's current owners as well. Do they want to go, right, we're going to do it?
I think if you're going to get Jack Grealish, you get him now at his age of 29, is he? Yeah. I know.
He's about to turn 30 in September, I think.
Okay, well, just because you turn 30 doesn't necessarily make you a poorer player. Obviously, over time, that's when it happens. If you're going to get him, you get him now. You don't wait around. City don't want a £300,000 a week Jack Grealish on their books. So it's a negotiating tactic from both with regards to what Everton are willing to pay and what City are willing to accept from a subsidisation point of view. I mean, from Everton's point of view, why get him on loan now in August when you could get him on loan and start paying his wages now, when you could, get that loan sorted by like the end of August, beginning of September.
Isn't this why Moyes was basically kicking up a storm
Well,
in the States every 5 minutes going, I need players here?
We don't know if it's specifically about Jack Grealish. I'm sure that does come into the conversation. Look, I don't know whether we're agreeing, but get Grealish in.
Oh yeah,
if you're going to get him in, get him in now.
I'd have him in, and I'd have him in right now.
Because if he goes to like a Newcastle or say a team who gets in the Champions League next season after 12 months with us, there's no guarantees that he's going to be the exact same player with the same impact. He's going to be another year older.
The only one positive for Everton is that he is Manchester based, isn't he? He's Northwest. Yeah. Well, do you know what I mean? So that's that. They've got that in the favour as well. So they basically just say to Grealish, right, we'll pay your wages, whatever it is, we'll pay it. You don't need to move out. I think he's just had a child as well recently as well. I think so that family's up here as well. You don't need to move to London. You don't need to move to wherever. Stay up here. Happy days.
Reece Jones says if Grealish comes in, he'd be up there with Eto and James Rodriguez as the best we've ever had at the Premier League era. I mean, surely he goes, if we get him, he goes in there as Everton's best player.
Again, I'll ask you guys the question, have the owners got the ambition to do it? Because if you look at the signs we've made so far, there's none that really jumps out. They've all been free hits. No teams been in negotiations with Dewsbury Hall, Thierry Barry, Adam Asnu. None of them have. Everton have had free.
They've not had to break the bank, have they?
Exactly, but they've had free reign. No other club's been linked with them. Whereas with Grealish, we know quite well he's a quality footballer. There'll be a lot of clubs sniffing after him. So it's like this is the test for the freaking group to go right. Let's go and make that bold statement. Let's make that marquee signing in the Premier League with this new club we've bought.
No, and the Blues have just pointed out here, City are probably still holding out for a sale as well. Probably just completely off the books with. A transfer.
No one's paying big money for him.
But maybe that's what they're holding out for. You never know. Like an injury to, a top Newcastle winger. I can't think off the top of my head. Another injury to a Spurs winger. Could they be forced to go in for a Jack Grealish?
Possibly,
later in the window.
Things can happen from now to the end of the window because don't forget there's 3 games, isn't he, before the window.
So that's why you wouldn't expect this one to get over the line until at least another couple of weeks. It's going to roll on, I think.
Yeah.
Here's where he just signs for someone tomorrow, this afternoon.
Probably pay for a Villa against us in a couple of weeks' time, but come back to Villa.
Okay, very quickly before we move on to predictions. I like it when we get back to predictions because we can start talking about footy. We might as well just speak about Tyler Dibling, Chris.
Yeah.
Me and Paul Wheelock discussed at length on Tuesday's show that Southampton reported. It was reported that Southampton had put forth a counter-offer. It has all gone quiet since, but for context, I guess the counter-offer stands at, it was £45 million plus £5 million, which was in easily achievable add-ons and a 25% sell-on clause of the total profit. With no plans to reduce the price, but it's all gone seemingly all gone quiet.
Yeah, we might hear more than an hour there. Manager's doing his pre-match press conference for the Wrexham game, so might have an update there.
What time's that?
1:30.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that one.
So
Everton are doing a pod, so we've got time to a pod, a press conference. We've got time to watch that then.
Yeah, so Mr. Still might have something to say. It seems to be that Southampton won't budge. I mean, it's an interesting one because Everton are obviously desperate to get a right wing. They need to get someone in, don't they? David Moyes knows that. I don't know, this is a technical term, but you don't want to have your kecks pulled down by Southampton here in terms of negotiations.
It's a bit early for that.
Hey, not again. How many times last season was it? Twice?
So it's a fine line.
I'm warning on the podcast now after that comment.
So Everton already had 3 bids, haven't they? And like I said, counts. Southampton, hey, there you go. So they're obviously open to a sale if they're actually giving you a counter offer.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that we've got a piece coming up now where their chief executive actually speaking on the matter. And again, he says, every player has his price. Let's be sensible about this, but we're not going to let him go on the cheap. And it is, it's their prerogative, isn't it? Everton were like that with Jared Branthwaite when Manchester United came calling, but they didn't. The difference being United didn't get anywhere close to what Everton's valuation of Branthwaite was. Whereas Everton are actually quite close now with with Dibling, and he's training away from the rest of the team. No full contact training for him, because again they must be concerned of him picking up an injury. So I think they know in their heart of hearts that he could be on the way. But it's like Everton wanting not to be seen to be taken advantage of, because obviously they really do need a right winger. It was interesting actually listening to his old manager Russell Martin. It was a quote from back in April when he spoke to Gary Lineker. He said he's the best player he'd ever seen, and then Lineker got him to qualify that. He meant in terms of who he'd actually worked with.
Sweeping statement, that wasn't it?
I know it was.
So he had to retract.
But he did say he thought he had something that he'd not seen in a long time from a British player. And interestingly, I don't know if this actually is a good thing, because obviously Everton need that right winger. He said long term he saw him being an 8 or a 10, but because he's so young, that's how they've got him in the team on the wing. But yeah, he was absolutely glowing about him, and that was an interview from back in April. So he'd obviously already left Southampton and was talking retrospectively. But yeah, he was really bigging him up. So it sounded exciting from all of that point of view. But yeah, as I wrote last week, tantalisingly close. But at the moment, Southampton, which is their prerogative, are refusing to budge. But the fact that they've acknowledged that he could be sold, the fact that he is training away from the team, my understanding that he said to them and he wants to go. He's not made a transfer request as such, a formal one. But yeah, I think the player fancies the move to Everton. Everton want him, but what can a sort of compromise be reached? Because Southampton, like I said, as is their prerogative, are digging their heels in over this one.
So just your thoughts on Dibling. I know you're very big, I mean we all are obviously, but I know you are particularly very big on stats and what players can bring in terms of goals and assists. He's a 19-year-old who's effectively done nothing in the game. He's just really highly thought of. I think a lot of people are saying that, it's ridiculous, the valuation that Southampton asking for Dibling. Obviously they can do what they want. I think the cherry on top of the cake for me, as I stated on Tuesday, was that 25% sell-on clause from the total amount of the profit. I think that was a lot as well. For a 19-year-old, it's an extreme amount, a lot of money. Where do you want it?
When I've seen him playing for for Southampton.
Seen as of the future.
Exactly, yeah, already. He reminds me of a young Jack Grealish. The way he carries the ball, dribbles forwards, makes things happen. If I remember served me right, he played in the last ever game at Goodison Park as an opposition player. So we could make history by doing that and playing the first.
I think he played in the Carabao Cup game as well.
Yeah. So I can see why we've been linked with him. He's young, he's a ball carrier, he dribbles the ball well, he's got massive potential. So I can see why Everton are obviously fancy him, and I can see why Southampton rate him highly and they want to put that price tag on him. It's no different to probably what we done with Anthony Gordon when Newcastle were after his services. We made that tough for Newcastle to they pay 50 million in the end for him?
45.
45. So in the end, it was like we were pushing Newcastle all the way in terms of sell-ons, etc. So it's exactly the same there in terms of one of our academy players for what Southampton are doing. I think Everton are playing quite a savvy game here with this, because they know that Southampton have got a young player who's Premier League. He's basically Premier League level. Do they want to take a player with 2 years on his contract into the Championship? Now, if he rips up the Championship, he's got a year left. So then all of a sudden Southampton are going back into the Premier League with a player with 1 year left. The transfer fee have gone down and they're taking a massive risk on whether they get back up anyway. So with a player who's young, they're probably thinking we need to cash in now desperately, because the ceiling's not going to be higher until he actually signs for someone else. So he goes and plays football in the Championship. There's not many players that go from the Championship for more than 40 million. So they're probably looking, we'll try and hold off for as much as possible we can. So I can see Everton playing the savvy game, going, listen, just keep our cards close to our chest here, because we can see what Southampton are doing. They'll want more money for them, but they're going into the Championship. And you can guarantee we'll still want answers from the board going, right, am I bringing this player into training or what? Or we've got a big game again. They're playing Wrexham this weekend, aren't they? And they've got games coming up thick and fast in the Championship. So they're going to go, is he part of our plans or not?
Well, preparation's been disrupted, hasn't it?
Of course.
It's a huge game. They need to hit the ground running, Southampton, if they want to get back in the Premier League.
I think that 2 year contract he's got left currently is probably the reason why Southampton are more or less being forced to sell, because another year in the Championship's going to do Southampton no favours.
No, it's an interesting point, isn't it? It works both ways in terms of what Everton are willing to pay, but like you say, Southampton absolutely will not want him to go for a knockdown fee or even on a free in the next 2 years. So I guess it's one to watch, Chris, over the next couple of weeks, I guess.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Some it's got to come to a head, hasn't it?
Okay, we'll finish off with predictions. Roma predictions, Chris. What are your thoughts?
Let's be positive. It's a historic occasion. I'd say 2-1 Everton then.
2-1 Everton. I know Villa put 4 past Roma last week, didn't they?
They played it bizarrely at Walsall.
I've seen that. Yeah, 4-0. But I think if you look at Roma's form, it's very similar to Everton's towards the back end of last season. Obviously, beat the Freakins. They both bought a former manager back, Moyes and Ranieri. I think Roma lost.
You got the former Atlanta manager now.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, Gasperini is it? So I think they lost 2 of the last 19. Everton lost 3 of the last 18. So they both pretty similar records going on the back of last season. They finished 5th. Obviously, we flew towards the end of the season. So I think it'll be a good test for Everton, but I think it's one where I think it's going to be a joyous occasion. I think, obviously, with the weather's going to be nice, full house there at the Dickinson Stadium. Historic. I think it's a really good atmosphere. I think Everton will put a show on as well. I think we're going to see Illuminati just literally do what he's been doing for Everton. I think he's going to revel in this atmosphere, revel in this stadium. And I think Everton will win this one by 3-1.
Interesting. That'll make for a good post-match podcast at 5:30 on a Saturday.
And I'm open to see as well Thierry Barry, more of him.
Yeah. I think we will. I think we will. Do you think we'll see Kane and Dewsbury Hall?
100%. He'd be fitter than any Everton player that's there.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you made, isn't it, about the Club World Cup. So hopefully he's just he hits the ground running and gets in it. I'll go 2-0. I'll be positive. 2-0.
Wow. Looking forward to tomorrow, eh?
I can't wait. And genuinely, just the occasion and the day, more than anything, being around the new grounds before kick-off. The walk down. Obviously got our steps in.
Of course.
Well, I noticed even from the first test event, I think I mentioned this before on the pod, because obviously they've got a better PA system, and I think you alluded to it before, so it's a bit crisper. Z car sounded actually a bit clearer, a bit better on that. So definitely. You got the better Z cars, got 52,000 in there. Going to be a hell of a roar, isn't it, when those teams go out onto the pitch?
Do you know what? It's been 8 years of watching the stadium get built from scratch, and you're just thinking it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. We had obviously the turmoil with the points deductions and obviously takeovers, potential new owners, the pandemic, obviously money situation. You just think it's never going to get it. And next minute now, it's just all Evertonians' dreams have come true. There's going to be 50-odd thousand heading there to watch Everton's first team. I can't wait. I really can't. Yeah, it is.
Literally starting tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be standing over the back of your neck. Once Z Cars comes on at 3 o'clock on Saturday in front of 52,000 Everton fans at that stadium, it's going to be spine tingling.
Probably the best way to sign off there, I think.
Yeah, can't top that, can we?
Yeah. Okay, couple of reminders before we go. Chris's book, link in the description, the YouTube, and podcast description, and keep an eye out for the post-match podcast tomorrow. Me and Tony will be live at 5:30. I think we're going to be around about. And don't forget to click on the link on our sponsorship, our new sponsor NordVPN. The link to that is in the YouTube description and the podcast description as well. And like I say, we'll bring more information on how all that can benefit you, our audience, over the next couple of weeks and months. That is all for today's show. Please remember to give us a like and subscribe. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. I've been Ian Croll with Chris Beesley and Tony Scott, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.